Hey, welcome back, guys. Happy New Year to everyone. I hope you guys are all having a fantastic day wherever you are. I made a video a little while ago about why I'm buying raw land at the peak of the real estate bubble here in Canada. And I'm going to make this video a little bit of an update. So I have a new plan, and I really believe that the best way to go about life is to be adaptable and to always be willing to change and to admit when you're wrong and to take action as well. So I've decided now that I'm going to sell that raw land, and in this video I'll be explaining why. So stick around to the end, and if you haven't already, hit like on the video, subscribe to the channel. I often talk about stuff like this, and I like to stay current and just give my crazy thoughts on markets and investment strategies and ways that we can hopefully create a little more prosperity for ourselves and our family. So if you guys enjoy that kind of content, stick around, check out some of my old videos. And with that being said, I'll get started here. So why would I be selling land at such a crazy point? And even though I just bought it a little less than a year ago, I've already decided I'm going to sell it. And the reason for that is that basically the overregulation here in Canada. So when I started looking at the cost of building and looking at all the bylaws, looking at everything that the governments and local municipality was requiring of me in order to build, it just didn't make sense. It basically, even if I was to do everything myself, which again was going to be really difficult, they were requiring that I take a special course, a $2,000 course, and write a few $100 exam to prove that I could even build my own house. And then after that, of course, it's just thousands of dollars in permitting and hundreds of thousands of dollars in building cost, time, material, blood, sweat, and tears, and all of that. So in the end, what do you get? You basically put all of your capital into this massive financial investment, and then you're really tied to it. It could be real estate can be really illiquid, so it's not always an easy thing to sell. If the market turns around, especially in the kind of scenario we're in, where we could have another liquidity crunch, and if they stop giving out money for free here in Canada and they stop deferring mortgage debt, then we might really see a lot of the truth of what's going on come to the surface. And if that happens, I think we could get into a liquidity crunch where we don't really have any new takers to come in and buy the real estate. And you always need new people coming into the game to push prices higher. So with the borders being shut down, travel restrictions in place, governments implementing higher taxes for foreign investment and stuff like that, I think we are really going to see a bit of downward pressure on the markets. I'm not sure when, but one of the main reasons I don't want to dump a lot of my capital into Canadian real estate at this point is it makes you a tax target, and B, really it's harder to move around. Your capital is tied up. You're really tied to this investment. If it goes sideways, you're really in trouble. It might not be easy to sell. So I don't want to be in that situation. There's so much unknown in the times ahead that I would prefer to stay as liquid as possible. I also want to be diversified, so I have a lot of my assets are diversified, mostly in precious metals and cryptocurrency, some cash holdings, which I'm regretting at this current moment. But most of that is liquid. You can go and sell it the next day if you choose. It's not like real estate where you have to list it, put it on the market, and hope you find a buyer. So, with all of the unknowns in this current market environment, I would rather stay liquid, and I would rather have the possibility of easily moving to a new jurisdiction that is going to offer us more in return for what they're demanding they can extort from us through the form of taxation or inflation. So here in Canada, we have just a massive inflation rate and some of the highest taxes in the world, and we're really not getting that much in return for it. In the past, yes, we've had healthcare and we've had pretty good public services, but the problem is that the governments are actually broke, and so are most of the Canadian citizens. It's all leveraged on debt. We have some of the highest debt levels in the world, and our government is also one of the most indebted governments in the world. and they're printing our currency into oblivion. So there's a huge chance that if they don't pull something uh, pretty wild out of nowhere, that this market could be in trouble. And I don't want to be tied to Canada when I really don't agree with these decisions that they're making. It looks like they're trying to move us into more of a communist or extreme socialist situation where they want to redistribute the wealth. So they want to come after anyone who's actually worked hard for their money and managed to save. Now they want to tax those people, steal their wealth, and redistribute it and give it to people that haven't really worked as much for their money. So of course that's going to be attractive to people that haven't managed to save. They haven't learned enough about finance or money or how to save, or maybe they don't have valuable skills or anything to trade to grow capital. So these people kind of get stuck in a corner. And of course, I am generalizing here. Not a lot of people have different situations, so not to generalize, but just in general, these people will be more attracted to kind of these social ideologies about going after the people with money and redistributing wealth. But the problem with this is that the people that are actually innovating and the people that have businesses that are contributing to society in a large way, if you're going to implement high taxes and inflate the currency away, then they're all going to start looking for better jurisdictions to move their business to, or move themselves and their family to, because they don't want to pay 50% tax, and they don't want to have their currency being debased at anywhere from 10 to 20 to 30% a year in this current market environment. So moving forward, I think there will be incentive for certain nation states to offer more incentives for these innovative individuals and businesses to move to their jurisdiction in order to attract capital and attract innovation to these countries that really they don't have anything to lose at this point. If you look at certain places that have already went through hyperinflation or have had sanctions placed against them through U.S. policy, you can see that they're already they've already went through the flames. Their currency's already crashed. They've had political instability, and they don't have a ton of opportunity. Maybe they don't have a ton of resources or whatever. So I think that these countries will have an incentive to offer, say, lower or no tax rate, or certain benefits or perks to people that want to move there. They want maybe certain advantages to people that want to trade, hold, and buy and sell cryptocurrencies, this kind of thing. There'll be more incentive for countries to do that. And then when that happens, a lot of the smart individuals that are tech literate and business savvy and innovative, and they're good at creating wealth, they're going to choose to move to these other jurisdictions so that they can grow more capital and that they can protect the capital that they've already acquired. And then what happens is, in the jurisdictions that are really trying to just get ahead through power and control and taxation, aka extortion, that kind of thing, it's going to be tricky, because it's the smart people aren't going to put up with it. They're going to find ways to get out of these countries. They're going to move jurisdictions. And what that's going to do is it's going to leave these countries with basically the unproductive people, or the tech illiterate, or the people that don't have all the information. They're just going to be relying on universal basic income or government subsidies or handouts in order to sustain themselves. And if the majority of the country ends up in that situation, then the whole country really gets in trouble, and the government is stuck with a bunch of liabilities on their hands. And then they're just stuck paying out all these promised liabilities like pensions and social services and all of that. So when we're at a point where they're already at peak indebtedness, and they're just constantly extending their liabilities and making further and further promises to offer more and more, yet the most productive people in that country are choosing to leave, then they don't have that mass of capital to tax or to go after and extort those people. So then the only way around it at that point is to just keep creating more currency. But if you study finance and economics, we all know where that leads, and that leads to hyperinflation and essentially the currency just losing all of its buying power. And then you're really just stuck. You're going to get pushed into poverty with many others, and you won't have the ability to move jurisdictions. You'll be at the mercy of the nation states and their policies, their financial and political policies, and really, I'm afraid of it. I'm not going to lie. I do have fear of that happening. I'm not rich by any means. I'm just human. I make a lot of mistakes investing and stuff as well. But hey, if you're not making mistakes, then you're not trying and you're not learning. So even though I make mistakes, I've made plenty of mistakes along the way. I am always trying new things, always learning, and always having the courage to take different risks and try new ideas. So um, even a guy like myself, I'm definitely afraid of getting pushed into poverty and basically not having the ability to adapt to this changing world that we're in. We're all vulnerable to this. I mean, the people that are really winning and are the most liberated are the tech savvy, are the people with all the information and the capital. They're able to just continually grow their capital and find new investments and create new businesses and new innovation and bring new value and basically sell the information that they have. So once you are able to do something like that, once you're able to get into something like e-commerce, then you're really able to move around a lot easier. And now with the invention of something like Bitcoin, we can even move our capital around a lot easier. So in the past, where you might have been restricted by capital restrictions, now you're not so limited by that. You can put your capital into something like Bitcoin and move jurisdictions quite easily. Now that we have something like Bitcoin that is recognized and accepted worldwide, really. And some of these more developing nations are actually further along in Bitcoin adoption because they already didn't have the banking system that we did here in the West. They didn't have access to banks at all. So now that they can buy and create and store wealth on something as simple as a smartphone and they don't need a bank, we're having major adoption in places like Iran and Africa, and I'm trying to think of some of the other ones. Um, a lot of the poor countries, anyways, Zimbabwe and stuff like that. So comment below if you know some of the other places that I'm missing a whole bunch, but a lot of these countries are further along in Bitcoin adoption. So this is pretty interesting. And times are changing quickly, and I think we all need to do our best to change with it. I wouldn't want to be opening up a retail store right now with what we're seeing, where the governments can just come in and decide if your business is essential or not and shut you down and mandate you to close all your business, while at the same time having no way to pay all your bills. So what does that do? Knocks you into poverty and again makes another victim, and then the government can just come in and buy up all of those assets with all the phony money they print. So really we need to be looking at these trends, and we need to be trying to acquire new skills, trying new things, and hopefully we can all adapt and move into this new system that seems to be emerging as this whole thing unfolds. So I definitely don't want to be one of the ones that's just paralyzed in fear and stuck clinging to the old paradigms, because it's just not going to be a pretty picture in my view. When I look ahead, I can't see that great of an outlook for people that are just going to cling to the dying fiat money regime and the whole idea of just borrowing money forever to fund your life and fund everything and just living in so much debt. That is a dying regime. And this whole thing of power and control and all of that, it's not built on truth or the well-being of the masses. It's built on selfishness, greed, and lies and all of that. And so that's why I don't think it can sustain. I really don't think that it's here for the long run. And I think we're seeing kind of the old paradigm die right in front of our eyes. And that's why we're seeing such an overstretch of their power. We're seeing them locking down travel and really limit people's travel so that they're trying to limit us from having the ability to move around and be able to avoid some of their extortion by moving to other jurisdictions that are offering more in return for what they're collecting from us. So this is, in my opinion, is really a last ditched effort on their part to extort their control and try and keep this whole Ponzi scheme of a fiat debt-based money system going. And I just don't think it's going to end well. So props to all of you that have been paying attention to what's going on. You've been investing in precious metals, in cryptocurrency. You've been maybe trying out some e-commerce. You've been lessening your debt. You've been learning about finance. All of those things I think is going to pay off tremendously in the long run. And surrounding yourself by other people who are also doing the same so that you don't feel so alienated, and that we can all learn to empower ourselves, and we can use this information age to our advantage by searching for truth that resonates with us. And to me, that is these new currencies like Bitcoin, where it's built on truth. We've taken truth and we've put it into a computer program so that there's no way to corrupt that. It's computational trust, and it's built on truth and peace and free market and equality for everyone. Everyone has the ability to go and buy a little bit of Bitcoin and to have exposure to this and to hold a currency that will appreciate in value. Also, I prefer to look at it as a savings technology, not always just as a currency. People always have that argument of, oh, you can't buy a Big Mac with Bitcoin. I mean, who would want to spend, if you know about hard money, the whole idea is to save instead of always spending. You don't want to be buying coffee with Bitcoin that's appreciating at wild averages, hundreds of percent every year. Why would you go and buy coffee with it? The whole idea is to teach people to value their money. It's your time, it's your energy, it's your life force that you've exchanged for this money. So learn to value it and learn to put it into an asset that will maintain that value throughout time, and it can't be debased. So that's the whole breakthrough with Bitcoin. And that's why people are so bullish on this technology, because it's really a game changer. When in the past we were really backed into a corner where we had not much choice other than to save these currencies, or we had others that were choosing to save precious metals, but even that they learned how to manipulate with derivatives, future contracts, etc. So Bitcoin really changes the game, and things are changing really quickly. So I hope all of you are just doing your best to digest as much information as you can, while at the same time not overloading yourself, and just learning about these shifts that are coming, and doing our best to kind of go with the trends, to learn the way it's going so that hopefully we can adapt quicker, sooner rather than later, so that we're not left in the poverty trap. And I hope you guys enjoyed that video. I hope you're all doing well wherever you are, and I'll see you in the next one.